Hi, my relatives. On today's episode of Our Storytellers, we're joined by a familiar face, my friend Kendall Hill. Kendall is a proud member of the Turtle Clan from the Oneida Nation of the Thames. On today's episode, if you watched our last episode, we talked about different news stories and stuff like that. So we kind of did the same thing. I would just like to remind everybody that we're two urban Indigenous people that don't really have on-the-ground information. We just only have the information from the news stories, and we just kind of talked about going back and forth about a couple of those. Yeah, everything we say here is with imperfect information, and we're just exploring some solutions to some different types of problems or brainstorming, really. Like, don't take anything we say too seriously, but yeah, let's just jump into it.
Hello, my relatives. How are you? Here at Our Storytellers, we care about your spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical well-being, which is why we want to inform you that this podcast discusses topics that may cause trauma to listeners and viewers. These subjects include mentions of Indian residential schools, assimilation, ongoing harm, colonial impacts, and much more. Our Storytellers recognizes the need to minimize risks associated with traumatic subject matter. The Hope for Wellness Helpline offers immediate help to all Indigenous people across Canada. It is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to offer immediate support and crisis intervention. Services are available in English and French and in Nehiyaw, Anishinaabe and Inuktitut upon request. If you or someone you know are experiencing any harm, no matter how big or small it's perceived to be, you can call the toll-free helpline at 1-855-242-3310 or connect to the online chat at www.hopeforwellness.ca. Kinanaskaman, I'm grateful for you. Your ancestors are always with you. All my relations, Riel.
Thanks for coming back on.
Thank you.
No worries. Thanks.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for coming back. It's been like almost a year. For the listeners that don't know who you are before, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I'm Kendall Hill. I'm Oneida from Oneida of the Thames First Nation in southwestern Ontario, and I am Turtle Clan.
Welcome to the podcast again, Kendall. For the viewers and stuff like that, Kendall, where did we meet originally? At a career fair?
I think so, yeah.
I think we must have met at a career fair 2 years ago.
I think over in Cowichan, maybe.
Really?
I think so.
I don't know if I've ever been to a career fair in Cowichan.
Or maybe...
maybe, though.
It's right up the road. Past Chilliwack a little bit.
Hope?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe. Probably
I think
Hope.
around there, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly where it was. Oh my gosh. It was on Nation out there too. You were working.
Actually, I think the first time we ever met, you connected with me on LinkedIn and you were like, hey, apply for this job.
Really?
Then I never did though.
That's okay.
Would have been cool, but I had to. It's you guys always come at the wrong time.
Yeah, it's all about timing with us recruiters, I guess.
It is.
But yeah, that's where we met, and we've been like kind of friends ever since, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And what we'll probably do on this show is talk some smack. And for anyone listening, we are just two young Indigenous professionals that are trying to figure the world out, and that's kind of how our show goes. You and I guess.
It normally is.
I guess so. How does it feel to be the Our Storyteller, the face of Our Storytellers on Instagram with over 70,000 views on a few of your reels and stuff like that?
That's actually so crazy, to be honest. Like, I haven't really checked the comments or like the views or anything because I'm like nervous, I guess, or like. But like to hear that it has 70,000.
I think it's over that.
That's insane. Actually, there have been times I've been in Lush, like getting bath bombs, and someone's been like, "Oh, hey, I've seen you on TikTok," or like, "I've seen you on Instagram," and I've been like, "No, you have." But then it's like clued in. Oh, yeah, they did.
Oh my gosh, that's wild.
Like people were sending these reels to my mom from like Ontario, being like, "Look at your kid."
What did your mom say?
She was like, "This is so cool." I had to like show her how to go find it on Spotify so she could listen to it. Then tonight she was like, "Can I watch live?" And I was like, "No, Mom, that's not how it works."
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we should bring your mom on too.
She would love that.
I would love to talk to her. Because your mom. Okay, let me see what I remember from a year ago. But your mom you guys are all from Ontario. Your dad's also from Ontario, also from the nation too, right?
From Six Nations.
Six Nations. And then your mom has been like a working professional in which industry for a long time?
I guess like education in a sense. And because she's been working with an Aboriginal Head Start.
Mm-hmm.
Now she does like strategy planning and evaluation out here.
That's sick. And then, yeah, like the weird thing about that reel for me is that when we were making it, like when it blew up, I was like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy. I can't wait to tell Kendall. And then never, if you want to save your mental health, just never go read those comments, like whatever you can possibly do.
Yeah.
Like the comments on a lot of our reels are like half amazing and half like complete like degeneracy. Like
I feel like you have to expect that from social media though. That's why I was like, I'm not going near them.
Oh yeah, totally.
I already knew I wasn't going near them.
Oh yeah, totally. Like yeah, I don't know. Like it's just kind of interesting. Like being in this weird like podcasting realm and stuff like that, and being a white passing Indigenous person myself, and also hosting podcasts, like it gets hella funky out there. And I think like I always think like what's most important is that it's just done. You know what I mean? Like somebody comes down. Like we just had my friend Sasha Glad You come on, and she was talking about a lot of the work that she does, you know, with Indigenous youth under 12 actually, and with prevention of substance use and all that different type of stuff. And I was like, okay, that's recorded, that's done. And then the second that we're gonna market that or post that or whatever, some great people are gonna come and stand by, but like there's gonna be a lot of other people who are gonna be commenting about substance use with people that are under 12.
Definitely.
And then where do we go from there? You know, but it honestly doesn't really matter.
I don't think so.
That's what our storyteller is all about. We just got to let it wash off.
You have to keep telling the different stories of each walk of life.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So what are you up to these days? I guess new job
Starting on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
That's exciting. Back into Indigenous engagement. Yeah, exciting. Missed it.
What are you excited about?
You know, before at my last job, it was like a lot of like supportive work on strategies, whereas this time I get to do like the strategizing and like the referendums with nations and that type of stuff, working close with the legal teams and Indigenous Services Canada. Yeah.
So nice. So the opportunity to lay some answers out for him, I guess. Hey.
Exactly. All those little career jumps finally paid off.
Yeah. There you go.
Even though everybody was like, "You're doing that too fast," and I was like, "Nope. I'm not. 6 months max until I get there."
Do you just get bored with the job, or just get under challenged, or when something like my trigger to quit is when I say something and like nobody listens to it. That's what I always feel like.
Yeah, I guess so. In a sense, that's what made me leave CPABC.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, was I just kind of felt unheard and unseen. But then kind of realized that I was really heard and really seen there.
Oh, really?
Really, really quick after leaving. So I guess it was just more of like I would get bored, but also kind of gaining that career experience since I broke into the workforce during COVID.
What's like one thing, or like if you had to say what your mission is in your work, or like your objective is, like what would you say it is?
I would say to make life easier for like my younger brothers and sisters and cousins and like any future ancestors that come, so they don't have to face the same difficulties on their journeys.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
That's one thing you said to me last time that stuck with me, is I was like, what do you want for the future generations? You're like, they're going to have it down. We're just in the middle of making this change right now.
Yeah. And it's like, it's kind of like, I feel like our like grandparents and stuff probably said that about us right, where we were going to have it down. But there's just so much work to be done that, like, it's crazy to see the pride that, like, the younger generations are coming up with and how proud they are to be Indigenous. You know, there was even, like, a difference in my family at one point where my older sister looked at my mom and was like, I'm embarrassed to be Indigenous. But then she looked at me, who was 8 years younger, and was just like, so proud to be Indigenous. And my mom was like, how do I close that gap now?
How did the gap close? Is it closed?
I think so. I think just through, like, connection with my sister and my sister growing up, and, like, just realizing that, like, the stereotypes that we're born into from the very first breath we take, although, yeah, like, you can see them as a negative, if you can twist them to a positive, then they'll never really affect you mentally the way they affected my sister.
What advice would you give to someone like me who has blue eyes and is Métis? Like, I am really from a Métis family, but you know what I mean?
It's funny because I'm very white passing as well. And so, like, my mom has always taught me that because my brothers, my sisters, and everybody's darker than me, that I have a place of privilege. And so it's my responsibility to use my voice. When my, like, family or my ancestors feel like they can't.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Okay. Akimemok. I'll keep going then.
That's it.
Is there anything else you want to clear off before we get into these articles here?
No, I'm excited for these articles that we chose.
Which one are you most excited for?
I'm gonna say the housing crisis.
Oh, Peter Ballyntyne?
Yeah. I think because it's so prevalent across every single province and territory within nations, that I think it's important to talk about. I think even within one of my jobs that I saw, you know, the city of Edmonton going towards kind of hosting engagement sessions with Indigenous communities to see how they could build SROs that were more culturally designed and culturally relevant to First Nations individual, just because within their city they had the highest homelessness population. But, like, I think they were like 65% of the homeless population, but only represented like 5% of the population.
What's an SRO? Well, can you describe what it is?
Single residency
occupancy or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. But it's pretty much just like a room like this.
Oh, really?
Has a bed.
Yeah.
Might have like a kitchen. Probably not. Might have like a little hot plate or something. But yeah, just kind of like somewhere to keep people off the streets, give them a roof, a bed. But it's not. Some of them that we see here in Vancouver are nothing fancy, but there are other ones that are like up and being built now and are being done right, that, you know, they're nicer. They're kind of more of like a home feeling for residents and individuals, and allow people to place roots down.
Having a place to go that's safe is like so important.
Definitely. I've been hanging out. It's kind of weird. I've been playing like basketball down at the Carnegie Center lately, with some friends, and like just seeing how like important that place is to the homeless population in Vancouver, because it's somewhere to go that they can get warm, hang out with friends. You know, they can buy a warm meal for $2.75. So like it's crazy to see how important, or even just that like I've taken such like advantage of being always having a home and always having a place to go. And, you know, with both parents, you know, having separated parents, my dad always had a home for me to go to, and so did my mom's. But growing up, I never realized how lucky that was for me, in a sense, I guess, or how much my parents sacrificed in order to get that.
Same. Totally. I couldn't agree more. Here, I'll read this quick. So Cree family of 20 living in shacks highlights housing crisis in northern Saskatchewan. A family on Peter Ballyntyne Cree Nation, North Saskatchewan, has been without permanent housing since summer. They've been living in shacks and tents without power, running water, or heat since their house burned in July. That is wild. What did you think of when you first heard of this?
I thought of back home. And my uncle, he actually kind of, before he passed, he always lived in a trailer on my grandma's property. And it was always so dangerous because he had his little, like, no heat, but his wooden stove in there that would sometimes catch fire or whatever. Or like just the fumes in there were so potent some days for him that it made me think back, and like a family of 20 crowded in to shacks and tents.
Mm-hmm.
Just crazy. Like the survival instincts that family has. And that I think I read further that the band has secured like a ready to live in house. It's just that like the shipping company fell through, and so they were supposed to have that before December, but now it's been pushed to January 2025, so this month hopefully. And it's just, they have like the grandparents and like the youngest of the grandchildren living in like a heated house, but it has no windows, that are all boarded up and isn't really like livable, but it's better than the shacks and the tents that they were in. And I think that's a crisis we see all across this country, not only for Indigenous people but for Canadians as a whole. I think we see it worse on our level though, for Indigenous people.
Oh my gosh, yeah, totally. But like I always just kind of wondered, like, what is the actual, like, what's the root cause in your opinion? Like, what's the root cause to not being able to have housing? Or like,
I think our family systems are set up differently than, I guess, the mainstream family system. So for us, it's nice to be close and to be with one another. You know, my family before, my mom would always drive me down to show me like the homestead where like everybody's house was before, like my grandma and Emerson built the house that we have now and that type of stuff. But even then, everybody was so close and connected. Even back, like, for us Haudenosaunee, when we lived in Longhouse, we were all connected with our family. And I don't think we have housing structures that kind of, like, mesh with our family units and the way that we design families and relationships.
I agree. I think there's probably a reason why 20 people of the same family are living in the same place.
Yeah.
I would love to talk to them if I could possibly do that, honestly, and go to Peter Ballyntyne and be able to like hear about their experience and actually get like an on the ground story for them, because I think that's like probably more I think that's probably more valuable than us reading an article and then talking about it, to be honest with you. But like, so do you think that part of the solution would be to find a way to actually build homes that are supportive for like a community version of a family? Like, we're not really nuclear family style at all, you know? And I think that there's also time, like, I would never see my family being able to live super nice and close and tight, like, other than my like immediate brothers and stuff like that. But like, I think that there has to be a time. Like, I think that if homes were encourage more community anyway, it'd probably be better.
Easily, yeah. And you know, I love my mom to no end, and like I would love to live with her. And we've talked about it, but it's like, I'm 27. I like to do things my way. I don't really want to be told by my mom to do dishes, or to feel like, you know, I think it's a respect thing when I'm with her to be like, oh, hey, mom, can I go do this? Can I go out? And she's like, Kendall, you're an adult now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's right. But, you know, we've talked about like finding that like perfect house where it's like separated and like the basement could be mine. My space to design, my space to decorate. That you can have like the main floor so that, you know, I still have mom there when needed. And, you know, I know my sister's very connected to mom as well. But I don't know if that just comes from being raised by a single mom. And we were always just taught that it was like all of us against the world.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, like, like, do you think that part of the problem is that, like, we can't get supplies there? Don't worry about it. Do you think that part of the problem is that, like, there's no supply chain that can get there? Like, why was the shipping company delayed by a month? Like, that's what I kind of always think about, is like, is there a lack of like a supply chain thing, or what is it?
The lack of resources, I bet.
From the family, or for the family, like, you know what I mean?
Like, I think, you know, not like the community, from what I have read, has stepped up to help the family to no end. So it's not lack of resources for the family, but I think, lack of resources to understand economically how to manage the dollars that are provided to you every year to service, or I guess build so many houses for so many families. How could we do that the quickest for the least amount of money? But so remote compared to, where we are here, that I'm sure there is supply chain issues and, weather issues and stuff like that.
I would love to solve this. Like, I think that I think it's a basic human right that people have the right to live in shelter with water, by the way, which is part of our next story, I guess. And I'm just so eager to find a solution to this type of stuff. But it seems like such a big monumental task, but like, I don't know, we got to figure it out somehow. I feel like we were talking about this last year.
Yeah, I feel like these are all the same subjects and topics.
Yeah.
Just kind of in new places, new nations with the same issues.
And we talk about it. We're going to talk about it every single year until
it's fixed.
We figure it out. And I don't want to I hope that didn't sound like saviorism or anything like that, because it totally isn't that. But I just feel like we can totally find a way to get something over there. And if this podcast can be a vehicle to encourage resources or better management of resources, or I don't know, whatever that looks like, because we're honestly just speculating. We don't know any of the data. We don't know anything. We don't know anything about what's on the ground over there.
All we know is the news article.
Exactly.
And the information that provided us.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But it's the same thing for a lot of different people. I think, we were talking about the housing market and the housing crisis the same time last year.
We were.
And it's only getting worse, kind of. I know so many people that are struggling to find places here, and things are empty.
Yeah, I know. I just had to move. I moved for January 1st. And at one point I was like, is this going to be possible? Mm-hmm. Because it's so hard to move. And they require so much information. It's you don't need to check my credit and to talk to every bank employee I've ever spoken to. It feels like you have to jump through 80,000 hoops. It could be really hard for some people, really limiting, and really off-putting.
Is that what what else did they ask you for?
Well, I've exaggerated a bit on the 20 bank tellers, but they wanted to check. A lot of places wanted to run credit checks and which is gonna ding my credit in the first place. But they wanted to run credit checks. They wanted to reference checks from which is normal, but they wanted reference checks from your jobs, reference checks from friends. Speak to your boss, and I understand in this climate, today's climate, on why they need so much information. But I also understand how to some people it could be debilitating or discouraging to continue that.
What if you never lived any outside your own house before, though?
What if you don't have a credit score?
Yeah. Then what are you going to do?
Yeah, what if you're on welfare or EI? So it's kind of crazy out here, but
that's interesting. Those little systemic, all those reference check stuff like that, all that comes from the desire to protect the profit that comes from the rent.
Yeah.
But which in the one colonial side, you're okay, that totally makes sense. But on the other side, it's well, they're signing up to pay $2,500 a month for a single apartment,
Yeah.
So it's do you think they would do that if they couldn't afford it? I don't know. I just don't know. But anyway, we'll have to figure it out.
Yeah. That's a tough question. Because then it comes down to to get it and to move in, you'd have to pay your security deposit. Mm-hmm. If you have a pet deposit. So I mean there are other ways you can see how reliable someone is versus a credit check, or, you know, how
Mhm.
many families, Indigenous families, didn't have access to financial literacy to learn all that. So, like, I know my credit score is terrible,
Mhm.
but, like, I still pay my rent every month on time.
Mhm. Financial literacy is like, we had Talisa Campo on here, and she gave a couple of tips just about some financial literacy and stuff like that. And there's also a lot of other, like, a lot of people don't understand financial literacy. Like, Jimbo had to teach me how to manage my own finances, like, literally last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard to do. And it's really hard to learn and to change the behavior to be able to get that done, I feel like. And, like, that takes a lot of a person, I feel like. Because for me, it was like I was spending my money, so much money on food, so much money on, like, just taking the easy way out of, like, or just taking the fast way out of what I was trying to do, right?
Yeah, or I'd see someone, I'd be like, oh, I want that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'd be like, oh, I'm an adult now. Let me go get that. No one can tell me no.
Exactly. And then you spend all that money, and then you put it on the credit card, and then the credit card takes a balance, and you carry over to the next month, and then it's 19%, 20%, which is almost criminal. Like,
Yeah.
that's massive. They make so much money off those credit cards, and I don't even have a credit card anymore.
Same.
Oh, you got rid of it?
Yeah.
Same.
I'm too irresponsible for a credit card.
Same. Sometimes I feel like some people are just not credit card people.
No. Like, our ancestors bartered. We didn't take things on credit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. We just did the trade.
Yeah, we just did the trade.
Yeah.
We didn't have IOUs.
Yeah, exactly. Métis people might have had a little bit more IOUs. In the sash, we would track everything with our beads and stuff like that.
That's
so
true.
sometimes a little bit, but that's because we were selling to the man, though, at the same time,
Right?
So we'll find out. Should we jump to the water one?
Yeah, that's a good one.
I have a good solution for this. I'm gonna throw it out there. It's gonna be Riel 2026. All right, let's do this. The Buffalo Treaty one is super cool too. Ottawa resumes bottled water for First Nation. Let's see. Martin Falls First Nation in Ontario has been under boil water advisory for 19 years. 19 years. The federal government is resuming funding for bottled water in Martin Falls First Nation, which has been under bottled water advisory for 19 years, if I could speak, and declared a state of emergency this week as the remote community in northwestern Ontario continues to deal with this contaminated water supply. The First Nations chief and council declared a state of emergency on Monday after a sewage spill on December 13th. To address the community's immediate needs, funding for bottled water is being provided. In the long term, we are discussing solutions that involve installing a new pump and putting measures in place to ensure future spillages are prevented. Jacinth Goulet, a spokesperson for Indigenous Services Canada, said in an email to CBC Friday. The community's wastewater lift system is broken and raw sewage is spewing into a creek that goes directly into the Albany River, said Chief Bruce I'm going to completely butcher this last name, Bruce. I'm sorry, but Achneep Penescum? I did my best. Sorry about that, Bruce. It's outdated. It's too small for the community, and we've had an engineering report done on our wastewater system highlighting that this has to be changed, which was built nearly 30 years ago. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's 2025. And we still have communities under boil water advisories. Which is so crazy to me. I grew up urban in a small town, I guess. But even I lived on a reserve for a few years during university, and we couldn't drink the water there, or like had to boil it. And I always had bottled water. And I remember my friends being like, "You're killing the environment," but it's because they couldn't understand how many nations couldn't drink water, or how many children didn't have access to clean drinking water, even, the ones only 30 minutes outside of our university town,
Mm-hmm. When I was working at TD Bank, TD Insurance, not TD Bank, sorry. We did a presentation one time, or I was involved in a presentation that showed how much industry was right beside the nations, like polluting industries that are right beside the nations and their water sources. Now, that stuff happens sometime. In this case, it was a sewage spill from old infrastructure that was built 30 years ago, I guess. And like, how does it work in a non-Indigenous community is my question. Like, do we just continuously upgrade and make priorities for that? And then when it comes to an Indigenous community, we just don't make priorities for that kind of thing? I guess so.
Yeah, in a sense, because even just look at over in Vancouver at like Main and Second, I think maybe, or Main and First, there was that huge like water main break over the summer, where their sewage like in the pipes burst underground, and they're still fixing that. And because that happened, they started to look at all other pipes throughout the city of Vancouver and how eroded that is. Or even over in Calgary, they just had their main water pipe burst over the summer. Right, which was supposed to be good for like another 30 years. And so they're already kind of planning for the future, what happens if those mistakes happen. But I think Indigenous communities get left to the wayside because, that might not be top priority within self-governance, even though it should be. There's other things that need to be knocked off the list first.
Then water?
Housing. You need a house to have water.
Okay, good point. Housing. Wow, that's actually... See, this is what makes all the issues. Like we were talking before the podcast, I was talking about the Indigenous recruitment issue, how complex that is. That's what makes all this stuff so complex, is because we do kind of have to do it community by community by community.
Because every community is different.
Yeah, and there's no blanket solutions, and there never is in life anyway.
Mm-hmm. Like when I was working with a strategic planning company, and we were working with a nation kind of out near Lytton. One of their top priorities was evacuation routes because of the wildfires that ravished through there the past 2 summers. That their one road in, one road out didn't really do them any favors. So they were planning new evacuation routes out of the communities.
That is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And Lytton?
Community close to there, yeah.
Because Lytton did burn down, didn't it?
It did. Mm-hmm.
Dang.
And Lytton's still not rebuilt, I think, 3-4 years later now?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe.
I don't think it will ever.
You don't think they'll ever put it back?
I think they'll put it back, but I think the community will take a long time to repopularize.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are going to get frustrated because there's so many geographical land issues, especially having to have so many permits and searches done on the land for geographical artifacts or ancient Indigenous artifacts. That I know that I've read articles where a lot of people are getting kind of frustrated with how long rebuild has taken of their community.
Oh, so like, so the rebuild is delayed because they're searching and doing all the surveying and stuff like that to look for artifacts, stuff like that.
And because
and they're like, we just want to come home.
Yeah, they're like, we want to come home, and some people are like moving other places and setting up now because it's been 4 years of just limbo.
I should totally
3 to 4 years.
I should totally interview somebody from that community.
You should. That would be a good interview.
That would be a good interview. Okay, I'm gonna do that. We'll write that one down. But That's very interesting. Can I tell you my plan?
Love to hear.
Here's my vision: 2026, 2027.
Skip 2025.
2025. Jim and I have a lot of work to do in 2025 already. Okay, here's the plan. If I ran, okay, here's what I'm thinking. Pierre, what's his name, might get into office, right? I don't know.
Probably will.
Probably will, right? And
Unfortunately.
yeah, and like I actually don't know anything about him. I deleted Instagram and I'm over the politics stuff. Like for me, I'm just gonna dedicate my life to actually making a difference in the people's lives I can. But I want to focus. If it's like any other conservative government that came before, I guess it would be like a limited prioritization in Indigenous communities or in Indigenous anything.
Yeah.
I think that I don't know how the last government did. Like I'm not attached into that, but I don't know if they did a good job. I have no idea. Probably not, I guess.
Like the last conservative government?
No, like this last Liberal government. Did they do anything?
We bought a pipeline.
Oh, no. Did they do anything for us?
No.
Okay.
They might have, but like bought a pipeline.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. I'm glad that we own a pipeline. I guess I don't know. I guess I don't know. But I think I want to run across Canada.
Terry Fox
style. Minus the cancer, if we can. And run across Canada to raise awareness for these boil water advisories. And what we'll do is we'll plan the route to make it hella tradish. So
I love that.
So I'll run from Tofino, cross the island, get a nice little break on the ferry, run.
I want you to swim that, not ferry. If you're taking this challenge, it's hard work all the way.
You think so?
No, I'm kidding.
I'm kind of heavy and I kind of sink a little bit. But run across Canada, get to Vancouver, run across. I would like to run up to Edmonton, go all the way down the heart of Alberta. Like I'd take an extra long route.
Extra long, like you're not just taking the shortest route.
Mm-mm. And I'm gonna stay in my family's teepee the whole time.
Are you gonna carry the teepee with you while you're running, or is someone gonna drive
No,
it?
Dad'll drive that, and then Dad'll park that in the back of the truck, and he'll bring the trailer for him and the fam.
I love it.
But I'll stay in the teepee, and I'll run across, and we'll throw our storytellers events at every single community that we run through. And we're gonna prioritize running through communities that do need boil water advisories. We'll run on all those roads, and I'll just run and visit every single community and bring awareness to it. And then when I get to Ottawa, hopefully we've created enough of a movement that Mr. Poilievre will meet with me, and I'll ask him for some help, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. We'll figure it out, I suppose.
It's asking a lot from a conservative government.
Well, maybe, but here's the thing: is maybe if I put my body on the line and put the full sacrifice, they'll have to say yeah. They'll have to meet me, and if I get the people behind me, they'll have to sit down and talk with me.
I like your ambition with the conservative.
Listen. I'll run across. I'll write a like some crappy business you can do it book or whatever like that, and sell the shit out of that, and then use all that money and then put water back.
Love it.
Is that a good plan?
That's a great plan.
I think that would be sweet.
I think that would be sweet.
And then, well, here's the other part of the vision is as I'm running through the prairies.
I just have this vision of you like running through the prairies with like sweet grass, like taller than you, like just like
yeah, hell yeah,
flowing on either side.
That's what I want. And then when we get to Winnipeg, where my fam's from, I will have a big homecoming ceremony. I'll cut up my MMBC citizenship and rejoin MMF and keep running through, and then call it a day.
That sounds like a great plan.
And then in each community, yeah, we'll throw a feast, and I'll just go to ceremony along the way. And
I guess kind of the whole run would be ceremony,
oh yeah, totally.
not just along the way.
Oh yeah,
You'd be like fully in ceremony from the moment you start.
exactly.
I love that.
And then get all the way to the other side of the country and start off by doing a cold dip in the Pacific and then do a cold dip in the Atlantic. And I think I could do it. I've honestly literally been looking at the route. I think I could do it in probably a year and 6 months. I think that's enough time. That is, what is that? That's 6 quarters enough to find a movement to get it done.
I think you could.
You think
This
so?
could be like the next Idle No More.
Exactly.
We're starting.
Oh, I would love to do that. And then Jim can come with us and we can film the whole thing. Maybe get some grants behind us and be able to, we'll produce content along the entire way.
Is Jim going to run too behind you with the camera?
Maybe he'll ride a bike. Yeah, he'll run for part of the way though. He would run for part of the way for sure. And then I think that's the plan. I think that's literally the only, I'm not a rich man. And I think that's probably the only way I can think to solve the problem. Like literally that's the only thing I can think of to come up with. I'll have to start a movement.
I think that is how most problems are solved, is by building awareness.
Mm. I think I just got to lay it all on the line. I don't see another way.
I don't. I think you just got to hit the ground running.
Are you going to be on the team?
Heck yeah. I'm not running though.
You're not.
I'll take like a motorized scooter or something.
No. I'm sure I'll need help managing other chat too at the same time. So you're going to be okay. Cool. Perfect. Dad would love it. Like I think my dad would literally love it.
I think so.
He'll retire. He can pull the trailer around.
Set up the teepee.
I'll sit there. My plan is to run it like it's a full-time job, like 8 hours. I'll just wake up at 7. Like
Break for lunch.
I ran a marathon in 5 hours. I would just have to run a marathon in a bit a day.
Yeah.
I could do that.
I think so. There was this grandmother Josephine who did a water walk.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What did she do? Should we look this up? Did you look this up?
Yeah, look it up.
Grandmother Josephine?
I think she's from Thunder Bay area.
Grandmother Josephine. Let's see. Water walk?
Yeah. She was like known as like a water warrior.
Grandmother water walker. Okay. Walked around the Great Lakes from 2003 to 2017 to build awareness. I didn't even know about this. Okay, let's read this. Josephine Henrietta Madaman, an Anishinaabe elder, water rights advocate, commissioner, born in February 21st, 1942. She walked around the Great Lakes from 2003 to 2017 to bring awareness to the problems of water pollution and environmental degradation on the Great Lakes and on Indigenous reserves in Canada. For her activism, she was awarded the Anishinaabe Lifetime Achievement Award and the Governor General's I can't read anymore. Meritorious Service Cross. Her great niece Autumn Peltier followed in Madaman's footsteps, becoming the next generation's water warrior. I guess those Great Lakes were so important to the communities around there, hey?
Yeah.
And we just screwed them up. Are they screwed? I think they are pretty screwed up.
Pretty dirty.
Yeah. Dang.
And they're like, it's funny because you think of a lake, and most people who like would grow up out here on the West Coast would think something small. But like, I remember like looking out over like Lake Superior, and then like it could be like an ocean. It's so big.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never been out there. I think I should take a little trip out there. Learn what it's about. On my run, I'll go.
On your run, you're gonna see the Great Lakes.
I'll run around them too for the part of the water walker part of it.
I love that.
That's the only way I can think about getting this water thing done. I actually don't think I have another way. That's my pitch to you today.
I actually don't know if there's another way because they've been trying to solve this since my mom was a young child, like 60 years ago.
Is it solvable? It is, right? All we have to do is go there and find out what exactly infrastructure upgrades need to happen, blah, 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 get it all done.
Well, did you see like at the end of that article, there was like 3 very simple requests from that First Nation, which was like show us the like review that was done on the wastewater plant and the recommendations that were made, implement them immediately. I don't remember the last two, but that first one stuck out to me.
Let's look it up. The best thing about this podcast.
Very end of the article.
Very end. Best thing about this podcast is that it's our own. Okay, Martin Falls has asked for 3 key asks. The responsible authorities, the community said in a statement issued Monday, immediate implementation of wastewater report recommendations, including the replacement of the lift station and construction of a larger facility. Easy, can be done, right?
Can be done.
Restoration of bottled water funding to relieve financial pressure on the community. So pay for our bottled water until we get that done.
I think that's a fair request.
Fair trade. Long-term solutions to ensure sustainable access to clean and safe water. Plan for the future.
Fix it for us now and plan that it doesn't break in the future.
That's all achievable. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, like it doesn't sound like it's anything that's like
the fact that I think that I even have to go for a run that long to even get this done is kind of wild, actually, now that I say it out loud.
Yeah, because if it was like the city of Vancouver.
Yeah. If the city of Vancouver was on a bottled water, like there'd be riots in the street. There'd be civil unrest, and we're just sitting, and this Martin Falls just sitting there going like,
please,
yeah, can I please get like this is just what we need right now so that we can be healthy and happy and equivalent to non-Indigenous communities.
But if they can't if they have to boil the water to drink it, cook with it, they'd probably it's probably not you can't use a shower, so you'd probably have to boil the water to shower too at that point.
I don't know how that works.
Because wouldn't it's I feel like it would still create health issues on the rest of the body. At some point.
We should find a biologist or something like that. Bring them in. You and I'll sit on this side, and we can both tag them.
Bet.
Okay, let's do that. We'll figure that out. I'm glad you're on board with the plan because this is the first time I'm saying it public, and because I'm saying it public, I'm like.
And now it's on the podcast, so now it has to.
And Jimbo's gonna clip it up and then probably and put it out there probably. So now it's gonna be public.
He is.
Once this goes out, I might actually have to do it. So I'm a little bit nervous about that.
It's no going back.
I can't say something and not do it. That would be dishonorable.
It would be.
And dishonest.
Yes.
Oh well, Jim, you hear that? He heard that. 10-year anniversary of the Buffalo Treaty. Let's do it. This is a feel good.
A feel good one.
I love next dream of mine. Have a bison farm. A treaty between 71 First Nations in Canada and the U.S. are working to return buffalo to Indigenous communities. Indigenous communities who sign on to the treaty must ensure a safe space for the buffalo to live and cohabitat on the land. Signatories must also promote buffalo's place in culture, conservation, health, education, and research. Pipikisis Cree First Nation in Saskatchewan is one of the nations who have signed the treaty. Back in 2014, it released a herd of 22 buffalo on band-owned lands. Since then, the community has shared that the same growing herd with Zagame Anishinaabeg, a Saulteaux First Nation. Headman Alan Bird from Pipikisis was there when the buffalo came back in 2014 and has been closely involved with the animals ever since. Bird said the community expanded their pasture and watering areas over the last 10 years and volunteers are coming to help out. It's a good relationship. It's always a good feeling. And it's a good, healthy way to carry out a day, said Bird. Bird's son-in-law and 2 other men approached Chief and Council 10 years ago because they knew of a man in Alberta, Ron Steckley, who owned buffalo and wanted to bring them to Saskatchewan. We started off discussions and we were a little bit wary at first because we wondered why these people would want to bring buffalo for free to our nation. Bird said Steckley and his producers wanted to do a paper contract of the deal, but they told Steckley they wanted to do it the ceremonial way. After we were done, we took that paper and threw it away and said, "No, we will shake hands, we will honor your words, and you will honor our words," said Bird. That ceremony we just finished, that's more than that paper. Bird recently attended a buffalo treaty signing at Broken Head Ojibwe Nation in Manitoba and helped some of the help move some of the Pipikisis herd to their new homes. If I'm sure I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, I'm so sorry. It's our paying it forward of the buffalo return to the land of a First Nation, said Bird. In an interview ahead of the signing, Bird said they were planning to have a ceremony at the signing and also wanted to share how to take care of the animals. Award-winning filmmaker Tasha Hubbard, shout out Tasha, from the First Nation, created a documentary spotlighting communities rematriating the buffalo across Northern Plains called Singing Back the Buffalo. There you go.
Buffalo are making their appearance.
Mm-hmm. The first treaty was signed between 8 First Nations. It just kind of goes into a little bit more of the history there, but the buffalo are coming back to the lands, and I love that.
Are they like wild though? They're not wild. Or are they like turning them wild?
Okay, so I don't exactly know how this works. Again, we're not bio. We're having significant barriers in terms of biological understanding right now, but I did hear my dad did tell me one time that, and I don't know if this is true, but that at one point in time the bison and the buffalo, they got so, like, the population got so low that they had to inject some type of like other bovine DNA in it to re-stimulate the population and give it some genetic diversity and stuff like that. And I'm not sure they're wild. They're probably fenced in, but like, you can't domesticate a bison.
No.
So
Like, they're wild, but like
so
not free roam.
Yeah, they're not gonna, like, I don't think in Saskatchewan, I don't think you're gonna in Regina, you're not gonna see a bison walking up, like you'll never see that.
I'm not gonna see a bison walking up First Ave.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I think that
Might see a moose though.
Totally, couple deers for sure. But the amazing thing about this is that it provides medicine and food to the people.
Yeah.
Helps heal the land. I kind of looked up because I'm also gonna have the bison farm too. I think that that's Riel 2035. But they just need they need good land to eat on, and then they just need source to water, and they are pretty much fine. They take care of themselves. And what's amazing about these nations is I'm sure that, all of the resources that's going back to ceremony from the bison, and like, the relationship is back. And I think that's what matters a lot to the people of the prairies. And
yeah, I think even getting to teach like the younger generations the cultural history of the buffalo.
Oh yeah.
And how to respect and integrate and interact and all of that.
Here's a story for you. When I was 14 years old, my dad and I did a road trip to Kikino Métis settlement in Alberta, and we went out with these guys, and we shot a bison with a crossbow.
Okay.
And it's so funny. So they grabbed it with like a, what do you call those, like a tractor, I guess, or like a backhoe. And we were raising this bison up, and what they wanted to do, I guess one of the guys from the settlement heard of a way to make a bison easier to skin, and how they would do that was they took a compressor and put it in like the fatty part underneath the hide and blew this bison up with air, but it didn't work. All it did, it was just blew up. Its guts was just full with air, pretty much.
So it just had to like burp.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I guess so. But so we skinned it down. I was skinning down the whole side of the bison, and it was like the most fun I've ever had. But like, the guy cuts the gut sack when we finally lower it, and he cuts the bladder right open, and like, my dad like grabs it and like grabs his hand, like puts it on top of this bladder, and he's like, "This is your job now." And he's like, steps back, and he's like, "Oh, you hold that thing so well." He's just like making fun of him for like, he was probably there for like 25 minutes, like just holding this bladder shut. But the best part about that story is that I think we took like a tenderloin or something like that, and we took it back to just like a little family home, and we just cooked in rounds and rounds and rounds of just bison meat on bison meat. And I must have ate until I couldn't eat any longer. Like, that's how good it was. It was so good. It was like, it's probably one of my best memories as a kid.
That's awesome.
But having that experience for me is what makes this treaty so important to me, is because, like, the bison are from here. They're part of the natural law here. Like, we need to restore that balance, and I think that that's a priority. I think that more people knowing about the bison return to the lands would garner a lot more support rather than cows. Like, honestly.
Are cows natural to here? Didn't they come from Europe?
They're not natural to here. That's what I'm saying.
I was like, didn't they come from somewhere else?
No, they're not from here. That's why I think like making sure that the bison are here is just as more important.
Yeah, I agree. I think, it's kind of like resetting the land, resetting our people, and kind of finding that like equilibrium that we've kind of been knocked off of for centuries.
Have you ever had bison before?
I have.
Do you like it?
I do. I think I had it at Salmon and Bannock.
Oh, really? Shout out Salmon and Bannock. We love salmon. We love Salmon Bannock.
Yeah. Oh my god, I had the best salmon last night.
Really?
Not from Salmon and Bannock. I was volunteering with the Aboriginal Front Door group, and they were serving salmon. Hastings, Maine.
Oh, really?
Really good.
What's the Aboriginal Front Door group?
Ooh, that's a good question. A shelter area, and I think they like offer different services and everything.
We will look that up or cut that part out.
Yeah, let's
okay, not really a news story, but North is North. We also have commercials too.
Oh, perfect.
Buffalo, yeah. Have you heard of North is North?
I've not.
Okay. Groundbreaking new Inuit-led comedy about a modern young Inuk woman trying to start her life over is set to premiere in Canada and CBC and APT in January. I wonder if it's out already. Shot entirely in Iqaluit. I don't know how to say that. How do you say Iqaluit?
You said it right.
Okay, that's
I
good.
think that's how you say it.
I remember in it as a kid we said it Iqaluit, like in school, but Iqaluit I think is how you actually say it. But we'll see. North of North premieres. That's also, I'm a terrible person for not even knowing that, but whatever. North of North premieres globally on Netflix this spring. So if you have you watched the trailer?
I have not.
You didn't get a chance to watch the trailer? It looks.
This one didn't load for me.
Oh, it didn't?
So I just read like the news.
You pull this a little bit closer to your face.
Oh yeah, this one didn't load for me.
That's all good. It looks so funny. I think it's about. I think if I remember correctly, it's about a young woman returning to like her community, and it's just like this kind of just like comedy style, like a bunch of aunties or like characters in it.
Understanding that like disconnection, that like helping her kind of work through that disconnection that she probably feels going back to the community.
I guess so. I don't know. We'll have to watch it. We should have watched it first, maybe if it was out already, or maybe
movie night.
Yeah, movie night. But I'm really excited to watch it. It looks hilarious, and if you're watching this right now, we're gonna link it in the description so that you can find the trailer too. And I just wanted to give that a shout out on the podcast too, because I think that it's important to support media through other media, even if someone's not coming on to promote it or anything like that. Like I think that's
Indigenous supporting Indigenous.
Exactly. So that's pretty much that. But yeah, no. Other than that, Kendall, like, we got so many problems to solve.
Here's one you'll like. You can look this one up.
Okay.
There was a bill happening, Ontario maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Ontario has a big issue with Métis. Not that we don't like Métis. It's just that like MNO is MNO. So they were trying to get land rights on different nations, And then I think Bill C something was about to just give them those rights and would have taken away from a bunch of nations. But it was just, I think, axed within the past week or two.
Bill C-53 question mark? Bill Métis of Ontario. We can clean all this stuff up too, so we don't have to worry about it. Reconciliation Action, Métis Nation of Ontario. Federal legislation. October. No, this is old. It was just a few days ago, you said?
Yeah, let me just find it.
They released a statement on Justin Trudeau's resignation. Métis Nation of Ontario. There are Métis people in Ontario, of course.
Oh, 100% there are. I think the issue with MNO is they give it to just anybody who comes.
That's true, because there was that guy who claimed he was Métis and he totally wasn't. He was like a premier.
Yeah.
Remember we talked about him last time?
We did.
And then he was like, oh, I'll just, he's like, I think he got ousted, and he was just like, he just didn't back down. He just owned it. He was like, nope, I am. And then we're like, how? Everyone's like, how? He's like, doesn't matter, I am. And then that's how it flew. But Métis is a very hard to prove your identity. Like, unless you're from like one of the core families, like I'm from the Prue family. My family talked about the war.
I don't understand. But I think a lot of Indigenous people don't understand Métis, like how their roots work and how they are Métis. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I think that that's totally fair. I think that if you wanted to learn about Métis people, the proper book to read is The Northwest is Our Mother by Jean Tayet.
Link that.
Who is, yes, for sure. She's also my cousin. Like, she's our family. She's related to our family, I guess. I've been trying to add her on Facebook to get her on the podcast, but I don't think she frequents Facebook too much. She was a lawyer and stuff like that. She lives on the island now.
Try LinkedIn.
You know what? It's so weird that you say that, because I actually haven't tried LinkedIn, and that's probably the first place I usually go. But I think she's just retired now. She's sitting back writing. But Jean, if you hear this, I would love to have you on the podcast to learn a little bit more. But
definitely, because I think it's like such a rich history that like a lot of people don't understand. Even like Indigenous folks themselves don't really understand what a Métis person is. Well, we do, but it's like at one point my mom was like, well, like, why am I not Métis? I'm part white. I'm like, no, but that you didn't come from the Métis.
Yeah. No, being Métis is being from a very distinct culture. Mm-hmm. And it's because, so they were called the Bois Brûlés at first, and which I think translates to burnt wood. And settlers came, married in, bunch of children. Children had children with other children, and we were left in isolation for a good chunk of years. I don't know how long. Good chunk of years. Mm-hmm. And there were thousands of us in Winnipeg. And like, I'm from the Prue family, La Roque, La Jamodière, like a bunch of different type of people. But essentially what happened is, we took the natural law view, and we loved our lifestyle and who we were and what our culture is. And there's a lot of different, like there's so many conflicting opinions. And the thing about Métis people is that we were nomadic, like the Nahio and this, like the Soto people that were around us, and moved around. And if we didn't get along or we had different perspectives, like the prairies were wide. We didn't have to sit with that one family. Mm-hmm. So if one family was a little bit more connected to like natural law and like Indigenous ways, like they were sweating, they were in ceremony, they were doing these things. And there's even stories like in Alberta, and I thought this was amazing when my dad told me this, but apparently, like, because Métis people didn't get any treaties or anything like that, right? So, and we were just
shut off to the side and took scrip, which is like they like paid us a little bit of dollars and took all the land, and we lived in slums like for a long time, and we actually spoke Nehio or Nehuio, and we spoke it so well that the communities actually learned it back from us after. And the reason why we kept it and a little bit of the community got a little bit more fractured was because of we were just ignored rather than like put on reserves or anything like that. And I've heard of stories like that. Like I've never heard it from a person from community. I only heard it from my dad, just so that everybody knows. But like there is some magic to us as a people. And to me, what being Métis means, I was raised really Métis, knowing I was Métis. I have like our flag on my chest. Like I've always been proud to be Métis. But for me, what it always meant was, you know, being in tune with natural law, being balanced with natural law, and going to ceremony, learning to speak Indigenous languages. I speak French. I don't speak Nehuio. I'd love to, and we're going to start taking lessons here a little bit, but it means doing the right thing for the people, no matter what the cost is. Like, they were sending out people to come out and kill us on trains with Gatling guns and stuff like that, and we stood and fought, and we stood and fought for our brothers and sisters and our families and all that different type of stuff. And that's what it means to be Métis, on top of a bunch of other cultures. Like beading was a very, very big thing in our culture. The more beads you had on you, the more status or whatever, more fancy you were, I guess you could say. And
like our turquoise.
Exactly. But do you see where that comes from?
Yeah.
And we took this culture, we took the Indigenous culture, and I wouldn't even say necessarily made it our own, but we followed it because it was the way life is.
Not made it your own, because it like I said to my mom, I think it was hard for me to understand who Métis are, because at the end of the day, like, they're still Indigenous in a sense. Oh yeah. Right? Like there's still a side of them who's Indigenous. So I think a lot of us don't understand how it grew into Métis. So thank you.
What the problem today is that if you're not from, like, essentially if you're not from the Red River or the prairies or somewhere like that, and you're claiming to be Métis and you're just part of something else, like that's the problem. Or if your great grandmother was an Indian princess, and like that.
You guys probably have a lot of like Métis fraud.
Oh, tons of Métis fraud, I'm sure. And like, but that's not what it means to be Métis. And I think that even if your great grandmother was an Indian princess, like that doesn't take
Cherokee princess.
Cherokee. That doesn't necessarily take you away from being part of natural law. You're still a human being on this planet. That's how we work. And like, you're still part of that medicine circle. You're still part of all this stuff. So like,
you're still part of that like cycle of life.
Yeah. Like we've always said that. And I've heard so many things. Like I've heard elders describe each color of people and describe what their gift from Creator is, and what they bring to the community, and why we loved having everybody here and welcome people with open arms. I've also heard the opposite. Like there's so many different things, and that's because we're humans in a human world trying to figure out things that weren't set out by us. Natural law set us all out, and we study that, and we learn from that, and we learn from these stories and stuff like that. And it's a complicated thing, but I'm proud to be Métis, and I really am Métis. Like literally, I really am Métis.
Like how you had to like really drive that
for
home.
real. No, for real. Because
I know.
Like, have I ever told you how I grew up?
Briefly, I think we touched on it a bit in the last podcast, but not too much.
What do you remember? Anything? It's okay if you don't.
A year ago.
Well, like I grew up completely connected to ceremony. Like ceremony was what saved my dad's life. What gave us a really good connection. I remember, like when I turned 16, I had my coming of age ceremony. I fasted for 4 days. Like I've been a part of ceremony. I'm not saying that to like flex or anything like that.
It's just been your way of life.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't have another way.
Yeah.
I could be as white as snow tomorrow and I would not have another way.
That's fair.
So what does that mean? And like, I was talking to P. Sim on the podcast too, and he was like, that's just the way. It just is. And that's what other Métis people kind of need to understand. Like one time, here's a good one. MNBC's AGM was in September.
Okay.
Annual general meeting. I was there for work. A person stands up and says, there are more Métis people in British Columbia than there are First Nations people, which means we have rights to land here. The whole room went quiet. It was like, that's a weird thing to say. Nobody said anything. I actually wasn't there for this. My coworker was there and told me about it.
Okay.
And then a little bit later, while I was there for this elder stands up and goes, we're visitors on this land. We have no rights to claim here. And we're privileged to be here, just so you know. Like, we are privileged to be here. But that's the most un-Métis sentiment you can possibly ever say.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Because that's not what we're here for. We're here to lift everybody up. We've always done it. We've done the hardest things. Like, when the hardest things come to it, we need to protect our families. That's what we've always done. Mm-hmm. That's what we'll always do.
Like, very...
Well, can you put this a little bit quicker?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just thinking how it's like very like one mind, good mind.
Yeah, lots of
way of life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, totally. And there's things in our culture, like we do love to fiddle, we do love to jig. Like that all comes from French.
When I was at the Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week opening night.
Oh, you went to opening night?
I did. There was like the opening performance was so amazing. And it was created by Maddie. Blanking on her last name.
McCallum.
Right, yes.
She's coming on the podcast.
I love it. She's amazing. That, like, the performance that she created. First, I didn't really understand, like, the interpretive part. Interpretive things are really hard for me. But as, like, once it got, like, more into, like, the traditional stuff, and, like, I could kind of tell, and I was like, oh. It was, I think, like, a lot of people were just, like, stunned by the emotion behind the performance.
Maddie's dad is a Sundance chief that I grew up going to Sundance to.
Okay.
And I know Maddie's family very well.
Okay.
And we all grew up together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Maddie is a walking base of knowledge for sure.
She is.
And yeah, she's like, that's what it means to be Métis.
Yeah, 100%.
Maddie embodies what it means to be Métis and exemplifies it. And yeah, she's amazing. I'm glad that you went and saw that.
Yeah. Even my mom was like, oh my God, like, we love Maddie. Like, we work with Maddie all the time at Head Start. And like, my mom was like in tears next to me after that performance.
I wish I was there. I didn't go to the first night. Good. Was that red dress night?
It was, yeah.
Dang, what?
I would say quite possibly the best of all the nights.
Really? Did you go to the next night?
I went to that night and then the one where they did like kind of youth clothing. I think it was the...
Oh, that's the third night.
Third night, yep.
I went to the second night.
Oh, okay. I went to the first and the third.
I love the Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week. It's like my favorite time of year.
Me too. It's so fun.
It's so fun. It's so fun. It's so
I would go to every single show if I had the capacity.
Mm-hmm. Jolene Mitten is the person
Amazing.
that put that on.
You need to get her on your podcast.
Well, I'm interviewing her models, so hopefully soon.
Hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, totally. That's what it means to be Métis. Welcome to the club.
I love it.
You want your card? Just kidding.
I'll go to MNO to get that.
Yeah, exactly. Just show up and tell them. But anything else? You're good?
I'm good.
Good chat?
Good chat.
Nothing else clear. Do you want to smudge?
Let's do it.
Here, let's smudge. I
I don't like to smudge on the podcast, but we'll smudge after.
Yeah.
Do it.
Do it.
Appreciate you for coming out.
Thank you for having
Long reach.
me.
Boom.
Boom.
Done deal.
Hi, my relatives. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of our Storytellers. Kendall, if you're watching this, thank you so much for coming on again. It was great just to chat for a little while and brainstorm and just gab, really. So, yes, thank you so much for coming back on. If you like this episode, we have a bunch more episodes, and I feel like we've been producing some pretty good content lately, so definitely check it out. And if you like it, please subscribe. If you are listening on Spotify, please follow. And follow our Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all that shebang, and let us know if you want to learn about anything in particular. We'll try to find a guest to bring on for you. I'm Keenan Askerman. I'm grateful for each and every one of you. All my relations, Riel.